You've tuned in to chipsgrooveradio with your hosts, Mike and John.
Seriously, it's been so long since you and I have sat down, sir.
Yeah.
I think the last time we did this, it was September or the end of September. So much has happened. Like, I went on vacation, but you knew that. Mid-October.
Yeah.
Starfield has come and gone. I've read a lot of complaints, and I would say their complaints are because they had just ridiculous expectations. And I'm not saying that to excuse Bethesda in any way, but I had fun with it. And, you know, as I've said a couple times on the show, I'm really tired of games that want to suck the life out of you. But here I go and 100% this game. I just did it last week or whatever. I mean, granted, it's not that big, but it's big enough. There's plenty to do that I could still be doing, but I had fun with it. It's not perfect by any means, but I think if they just tweak the environments and give it a little bit more life on planets, there seems to be a stale, you know, I've been here before feel.
Yeah.
There is an achievement, and we all know I'm a whore for achievements. You have to visit every star system, which I think there's 120 or something like that. And it takes a while because you have to have the grav drives and the engines that can actually reach these places when you get to the higher level ones. And though at the end of the game, when I had done everything else, I'm just jumping from planet to planet. It was like just drinking my coffee sometimes in the morning, just jumping around. But I mean, it was a fun time. It is a Bethesda game, and so I am familiar with how they do things. And
Yeah.
have you finished Baldur's Gate, or is it still just taking your time with it?
Yeah. So it's interesting. I'm playing Baldur's Gate single player, and I'm also playing a multiplayer Baldur's Gate. It's really to replay the game. That would be like the best way to do it. Play a single player game, do all the companion quests that you want to do, because you get like these NPC companions that have their own mini quests, and then go through the game that way, and then go through the game with a full party of players. Ignore all the companions, do all the other side quests that you missed on your first way through, and that's what we're doing. And maybe play a little bit more of a douchebag, which is what we're doing. But yeah, it's super fun. And then Cyberpunk 2077 is just an amazing game, and I'm still sucked into that.
I'm really tempted to get Baldur's Gate 3. I have so little knowledge of how to play a Baldur's Gate game. I tried when I was a kid, and I'm like, this is beyond me. This is much more than Diablo, because I was raised on Diablo in that sense, just because it was an RPG and action oriented. This is much more methodical, and while I am a big RPG player, this is very deep, it looks like. So I'd be curious.
Someone who doesn't you haven't even played 5th edition at all, have you? Like D&D? So I'd be really curious of how hard it is to get into the game if you have no knowledge of the rule set for D&D. And the game itself is fairly unforgiving. When you do something, you do something. There's no real like fences around anything. But it's cool because very often you make a mistake and something breaks, or you make a decision that you regret. But if you are willing to just flow along with it, the game will figure it out. You'll have different dialogue options. Maybe someone gets pissed off and leaves, but like, it's not the end of the world. You have other companions, and you can get their stories going. So it really does, like, failing the forward is kind of I think the mantra of the game. But it's tough to get into that mindset.
Me being like a completionist as much as possible, I guess I would feel like I'm getting bombarded with options and I don't want to do it the wrong way. Not that there's a right way necessarily, but I want to experience everything. So if someone leaves and they're pissed off and they're never coming back, I'm like, oh, what did I miss out on? What's their story, you know?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It's on my list. I just don't know if I can pull the trigger. Maybe I'll ask for it for Christmas or something so I don't actually have to spend the money on it. Ugh.
It's a game that I think you could take slowly and in pieces. And just take your time with the dialogue and just kind of get immersed in a character. Because I think the big thing is if you go into it with whatever avatar you're playing, trying to come up with a personality for them right out the gate and like a character, like actually role playing, it'll help you let those moments kind of roll off the back and move forward because you're doing it in character. Cool. So it makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure I'll get to it. So how far would you say you are? 2/3?
Yeah, 2/3. I think I just got to part 3, and I got a little ways into part 3 in my single player game.
Awesome. Well, since we are on topic, why don't you give me a rundown of Baldur's Gate 3 and Borislav Slavov's soundtrack?
Sure. Yeah. This soundtrack, Baldur's Gate 3, like you said, composed by Borislav Slavov. I think it was performed by the Hungarian Philharmonic Orchestra. Baldur's Gate 3 is the third in a series, obviously, of RPGs that are based mechanically on Dungeons and Dragons. The original Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, I believe, were 3rd edition or 3.5, and they came out in the late 90s, early 2000s. Mm-hmm. And then this one is based on D&D 5th edition. And based on, I mean that the rules are nearly identical to what you'd play in a tabletop role-playing game, with a lot of tweaks that I think, one of the things that makes Baldur's Gate so special is that they weren't afraid to add things to the rule set to make it more interesting and a better game. And there's things in Baldur's Gate 3 that they're like house rules that I would take and put into a D&D RPG if I was to do one. Nice.
So it's a little tweaked there.
Yeah, it's tweaked. And some of it's for video game reasons, and some of it's just because it's more interesting than the actual D&D rule set. And so the actual conceit of the game is this is 100 years after the second Baldur's Gate. So you find yourself kidnapped on a mind flayer ship. Mind flayers are a bunch of aliens that take over your mind, and they insert a parasite into your brain. Little worm.
Good old Star Trek Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, a little bit. The main goal of the mind flayer is the parasite is to turn you into a mind flayer at some point. But that doesn't happen, and you crash the ship, you fight some mind flayers, you get out, and you go on your way, on your merry quest to figure out how to get this mind flayer tadpole out of your head. Huh. And there's a lot of twists.
So the mind flayers are aliens? Or are you using that term loosely?
They're loosely. They're on from a different plane of existence. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I know they, being someone not very immersed in Dungeons and Dragons, I'm very aware of the Mind Flayer. I didn't realize that they were a dimensional being or something. That's cool.
Yeah.
I guess I should have put that together because they're very Cthulhu-esque.
Right. Yeah. They're extremely alien. They have their own there's a whole dealing with mind flayers. There's the Githyanki who fight the mind flayers, but they're also kind of evil. And there's a whole thing, and it kind of plays out in the game where you have a companion that's a Githyanki who has all this precondition or pre-knowledge about what mind flayers are and what they can do. And yeah, throughout the game you get NPC companions that also have tadpoles in their brain, and they all kind of join up, and they have their own little side quests, side stories, whatever. It's for a RPG, it's probably the best RPG ever made, to my mind.
It's fair. It's getting fantastic reviews, so I don't doubt it.
I haven't played a game that is so immersive and so interesting to play, both tactically and storytelling wise, than this game.
It looks exciting, and I like I said, I'm hesitant to pull the trigger just because it will be difficult and a life sucker. I told my wife is going to ruin our relationship if I buy this game, but we'll see what happens.
I'm about 90 hours into it. I mean, it's probably a 90 to 100 hour game, played at kind of normal amount of completion.
Okay.
So
That's not bad.
150 hours if you want to go crazy, but yeah.
Very cool. Well, since this is your big game here, why don't you kick us off?
Sure. Yeah. Like you said, narrative wise, this game is one of the best that has ever come out. It's even outside of the RPG element, and a lot of that is thanks to the music. It has a very strong orchestral, almost movie, like epic movie, Lord of the Rings style soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
And it all starts out with the main theme, part 1. The deep chants, timpani, and rising strings that serve as a prelude to this amazing track just set such a sinister tone for the rest of the song. It kind of leads into something of a chorus before falling away to this beautiful section that belies the mysticism and wonder.
I got chills listening to that opening, and then when it slides into that really low and quiet section, it casts all that bombastic nature of the album, the opening, and just cast it aside for this gentler, more beautiful tone and that female vocalist. And wow, that combination with her and the harp is very nice. I think Slavov gave a great scope of adventure with this track because of that extreme opening and then that quiet middle section. I think it was really cool. And it's not a very long tune either.
No, it's only 2.5, 2:45. Yeah. You have that drop off, like you said, and then plays for a little while before it brings those baritones back in epic fashion. There's like a delicate fight between good and evil in the opening salvo. The song always ends with this without declaring who won.
You're right.
Kind of is unfinished. The best thing about starting to play Baldur's Gate every time is that this song serves as the main menu music, and I always hum the tune before pressing continue. Just the way it's an amazing like transition because it's loading. Whenever you get loading screen, and then the song starts to play, it shows like Baldur, like a picturesque Baldur's Gate in the distance, and then it pans down under the underworld where you have this temple of Merkel, like temple of blood and stuff, like very evil thing, and then the bombastic tune comes through, and it's like, yes, I'm ready to go. I want to go.
I love it when they integrate music like that with what you're actually seeing on screen. That's really cool.
It's so good.
You're pushing that button. Just listening to you talk about it, I'm like, I should go buy this right now when we're done. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, it was an excellent track. And my first track that I wanted to pull from was the actual Mind Flayer theme.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It is an excellent source of tension, and rightfully so. As we just discussed, whether you play D&D every day or just know it in passing, I think the Mind Flayer is a very recognizable and formidable creature, and I think everyone should know that if they don't. It's very Cthulhu-esque, face-tentacled sorcerers and fearsome opponents, I would say they are. But the track opens with extremely dark and threatening cellos, an aggressive single-note bowing of the instrument. The low horns grow from behind and slowly begin to become more vibrant and horrifying as the cellos really continue their assault. When the violins come in with their melody, the song becomes a bit more fleshed out, almost as if a battle is beginning, which I really liked. It's really interesting to me that the song is about a character rather than an instance or something happening per se. It sounds like this is the Mind Flayers. This is what you hear when you just look at one, right? Nothing necessarily has to be happening. I really like the way he implemented it here. And there's a curious and sneaky feeling to this track as it continues. Higher strings imply very sinister motivations, but it doesn't really stop there. There's a short section with bells that also identifies with the Mind Flayer itself and its assault on your mind. It gives you that.
Yeah.
The song itself feels like you question who you are. What are your motivations? Is there something controlling you? That's kind of what I get from this track.
Yeah, you get those falling strings in the middle there, and this track I believe plays when you have a bit of a cutscene in the beginning where the Mind Flayer is being chased by in his ship. You're like in this Mind Flayer ship, big squid flying ship, crazy thing. And you're being chased by these Gith that are riding dragons through dimensional portals. You end up in hell. You have to fight a bunch of demons on the ship as it kind of gets assaulted because you escape the Mind Flayer pod and you come face to face with the Mind Flayer that's trapped you, and you have to like make decision whether or not you want to help it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very sinister part of the game where you're trying to fight for your life against multiple enemies.
It's quite the track, and that sounds like it's accompanying a very tense moment for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Which only implies that, or which only gives credence to what I was saying at the beginning. It's an excellent source of tension in this song, so
yeah,
they definitely succeed there.
The next one I really want to talk about was Twisted Force. It's a shorter track. I think it's a battle track as well, but it has a great Middle Eastern Indian flair to it. You get the wailing sitar-like instrument. It kind of guides us into the song before the deep chanting voices make their presence known. The song dips away to highlight the deep voices that are intertwined with the staccato strings. A sharp key change towards the last third of the song sends us on our way without resolution like the first song, but not before we get more indecipherable chanting to add another layer to this mystery. It's just a great kind of interstitial song, I think, but it lends itself to that mysticism and mystery that you get from the first song.
Oh yeah, right from the get-go, we can tell. I think from just those first few measures, this is going to be a different track. And that sliding, descending sitar guitar sounds very off-kilter and foreboding. And then it becomes mostly acoustic. The song truly becomes twisted and dark, like the name suggests. And I'd love to know what this accompanies, because it definitely evokes fear and dread. Someone, maybe a mad magician, is doing awful things in a lab somewhere. Combine that.
I'm curious. I think this is like, I think it's a battle song within the Underdark.
Okay.
I think. If I remember correctly, but yeah, the Underdark is very dark, twisted, and sinister. So
absolutely, Combine that really uncomfortable guitar work with the prominent and driving chanting throughout the track, and I think Slavov delivers a truly unique and exciting piece of music.
100%. The chanting voices is just so great. It brings in a lot of this soundtrack he did such a great job of bringing the songs together in different ways. Like you take a piece of the main theme, you like the deep chanting voices, and you add it to this song, but with a different flair over it. A lot of the songs have similar melodies, or will incorporate the similar melodies from the other songs. It kind of intertwines the story back and forth. And if you listen to it on a whole, like you listen to the whole soundtrack, you kind of get this full breadth of a story throughout the entire thing.
Oh yeah, the integration of melodies between songs is very expertly done, and I would say, surprisingly, the choral sections, the chanting, I would say that's a very, very prominent instrument, if you will, for the whole album. And I don't think I've heard an album that has so much of it, but it's so powerful the way Slavov uses it here. They can be extremely foreboding and extremely beautiful from one track to the next, and I don't mind it. I don't typically gravitate towards a lot of chanting music, but I think this works very well because of the instruments and how they're mixed together. It really builds out this soundtrack to give character to this world, and I haven't even played the game, so I'm very interested in it.
Well, yeah, a major piece of the villainy of this game is basically a cult. So like this chanting really evokes that cult like,
absolutely,
bringing out demon or monster from beyond and that kind of thing. So the chanting really helps build that mystery and depth there.
Well, the next song I wanted to draw attention to is Nine Blades, simply because there is such fire behind this song with that rhythmic and rolling percussion. When the acoustic guitar comes in, for a moment, it sounds like a Western. And then when the Gregorian chants again come in and the guitar harmonizes with them, it's just choice, right? Really good section. It's extremely well constructed and goes from steady to bombastic when the horns come in. They add a lot of danger to the song, and during the second half really increased the orchestral arrangement. There's something about blaring horns that create a situation that is absolutely dire in this song. It takes a lot of turns, I would say. It gets wistful towards the end with a female vocalist adding her own unique and beautiful flair while the song just continues the way it has the entire time. It's a traveling track to me. If I had to explain it, you're riding across the countryside in a party on your way to something significant and towards danger. With that rolling rhythm of the song, you really feel the movement of the piece, and it's just a blast to listen to.
Yeah, it's such a great driving song with that, like you said, it has a lot of twists and turns, a lot of different sections that some of them pull from other melodies of the rest of the soundtrack, but ever present are those chanting voices, and these aren't really as ominous or as evil as some of the other ones, like in Twisted Force. These are more hopeful, heroic style chanting voices that really push you on into adventure.
Yeah, the adventure in this song is palpable, and this to me is the embodiment of a role-playing game. This excitement, this is a party moving towards their task and riding to accomplish their mission, this great mission that they're going to save the planet probably, but this definitely evokes that grandeur, and I really like it.
Yeah, it's great. Well, the last one that I wanted to talk about was Night Song.
Excellent.
I picked this song, and it kind of goes into the one after it on the album, the choral version of Power, the Power.
Mm-hmm.
But the nice song itself is mostly picked because of the moment it encapsulates in the actual game. It's a short song, a little over a minute, but it lends so much strength to the narrative that plays out in the game. I don't know if you want me. I won't spoil it for anybody.
Give us the hollow version of what's happening here, because I want to know, because it feels very, very awful, traumatic.
It's not. It's you're essentially freeing somebody, but they've been captured for a very long time. But they're expecting that you're going to kill them. They think you're there to kill them, but you free them, and then this song plays. That's as far as I'll go.
Okay.
And hopefully I didn't ruin it for anybody. But it's kind of obvious what to do. But anyways, the solo haunting voice that pierces us with sadness and longing is that person who's been captured for a century. Eventually, a second voice joins, bolstering the first with a low harmony. That's your character, probably. If in my mind's eye, that's what makes sense. Occasional timpani stings bring a weight to the moment, and then all of a sudden, the rest of the choir joins in as the first voice is lifted away. As the rest of your party kind of goes along with the decision you make.
Awesome. That's great.
It's great.
I mean, it doesn't take a master to identify this as a downer song, or not a downer, but something a little sad.
It's sorrowful. Yeah.
Yeah. That beautiful vocal melody by the artist is so good. It's a very slow build, even for I think it's 1 minute and 18 seconds or something. But every few measures they introduce a new instrument, and this, there's so much emotion behind this piece. Something in my mind where I went, something truly awful has already happened. Maybe the person you're saving is dead when you get there or something. But it was definitely, it has a weight behind it with those timpani strikes at key moments, and it just indicates a heavy loss to me, and I am moved by this piece, and I'm astounded, really, that it's only 1 minute and 20 seconds. It's just
it feels like it's so much longer. When I first was like, I'll put Night Song on the list. It's long, and then I looked, I was like, only a minute. I'm like, oh yeah, and then part of it is because it leads it straight into the Power choral version, which sounds similar to it.
Yeah, and just to touch on choral, it's like that second half of the song, but they have this very melodic and harmonizing choral section that opens that track as well. But it's like a continuation. It's not really a continuation, but it's still very good.
I actually had to go back and look at a video of the actual moment, because it's like, did the Power play after Night Song? But no, it doesn't play after. There's another song that plays after. So it's kind of interesting that it's so similar. So I'm not really, I'm not sure, because the Power, actually, it's interesting, because if you're a bard and you have an instrument, you can play some of these songs. There's like the bard version, like Old Time Battles. There's a bard version of that, and you play that if you have enough people and enough bards have different instruments, they all play their own little part of the song, and you can have the song play with a bunch of people. So that's pretty neat.
That's really cool.
But the Power is one of them, and it's
I'm glad you chose this song, because even though it is short, it's just a wonderfully beautiful piece mixed into what I would say is a very active and mostly loud album.
I
mean, there's a lot of hills and valleys on this album, but the slower songs, I would say, play a little bit of a backseat to the really bombastic and adventurous stuff.
Yeah.
The last song I wanted to talk about is Forging the Fate. Gentle acoustic and violins open this track with a very beautiful and honest melody. The percussion and horns fill in the later part of the opening to build into something far grander than initially implied. In a sweeping motion, they all come together for a very thunderous orchestral introduction. This sounds to me like the final decision of the party. Through all of their ordeals and trials, they've made it to this point. Decide to move on and defeat the insurmountable force or die trying, pretty much. That's what this song says to me. It has such beauty behind it. The strength of the track is easily the acoustic guitar finger picking. They're just moving their way through that journeyman's tune. However, I will say the instruments swoop in together and become more engaged and louder during the 50-second mark, I think it was. It really brings the song to a new height. Yeah, honestly, listening to it a couple times, it reminded me of Dead Space 3's Cry of the Ancients. I think we did that on our playlist episode.
Yeah.
That one is a little less grand until the end, but that was very much a decision moment in the
Same
game.
feel, yeah.
Yeah. So there's the point of no return. We do this or the planet's lost or something like that. So
Right.
I really felt that listening to this song. This is a do or die moment, and it's just a beautiful track, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it comes at a time where the real villain is revealed, and you're kind of given what the plan is and what you need to do to stop him. So yeah, it's very much a like do or die moment. You've discovered all this stuff, and you now have to go on and face certain doom.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great period of the actual game, and this track really helps encapsulate that feeling as you move on into the later part of the game.
Yeah, I need to listen to this album one more time after we're done. It's a decent listen, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean lengthwise. So you definitely set aside some time to listen to this one if you want to go through the whole thing. But just to feel the power and get those chills at all the right moments, this album is so fun to listen to. Slavov spent a lot of time constructing songs that tell stories along with what may be happening in the game. Mm-hmm. As I've stated a few times on this show, I have yet to dive into this game, and it really makes me want to every time. Yeah, like you're doing a hell of a job when you're explaining it earlier. I'm like, oh my God, I need to play this game. And just listening to the soundtrack, I feel like I'm watching a AAA epic movie while listening to it. It's like the highs and lows of the soundtrack really keep you involved simply by virtue of piecing your own head stories together. Like I'm playing a fake movie in my head. I have no clue what's happening, but I'm like, this is the moment, guys. We're going to do it. And I have no idea what's actually happening in the game. So I don't know. To come back, I think this soundtrack is just a beautiful piece, and it really, really cements, I think, the overall reviews of this game. I have seen nothing negative about this game. And if they had a bad soundtrack to go with it or a mediocre one, I don't know that it would review quite as well. Of course, the gameplay is very important and the story is very important, but Slavov did a hell of a job constructing this thing. And just the amount of mind movies that were playing in my head while listening to it is evidence of that. So well done.
I can't even imagine the amount of effort and thought and work that went into making a soundtrack for this game. a game that is, like I said, so well crafted story wise. There are a lot of choices to be made and directions you can go that are totally like separated from the rest of the game, to make like options for those and to make it all really cohesive in a game that stretches probably 80 or 90 hours of actual gameplay is really incredible. And it's a testament to how much the game inspired him, and to some extent I'm sure he inspired the game developers, writers, and all that when he was previewing some of the music.
Oh, absolutely. For it. I can only imagine him coming in with some samples and people being like, oh yeah, this is fantastic. Yeah. We got something here. We got to start working harder.
Right.
We got to make this really impact.
And I mean, the studio that made it, like, you have, we were chatting about Starfield and Bethesda, which is a giant AAA studio that has all the money in the world. And some will say that they sit on their laurels when it comes to some of the decisions they make for their RPGs.
Yeah, that's true.
You have Larian Studios, which is a kind of a startup. They made Divinity's Original Sin, which is an original RPG that they made, 1 and 2. And I played both of those. I haven't finished them, but they were good games.
I got to stop saying this, but I was very close, about 10 years ago, to pick up Divinity, and I never did it. But it's always stuck out to me. I don't know.
It's a studio that you can tell really cares about the final product that they release. I mean, they are very adamant about there's no DLC for this game.
Good.
It's done when it's done. They had the pre-alpha launch a year ago or so, more than a year ago. But there was no real release date. And, I was worried because it was a bit of a buggy mess at the time when I played it. But it's obvious they took their time. They squashed as many bugs as they could, and they really cared about the final product of this game. And it shows in both the game and in the soundtrack, because it's just so finely crafted.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly what we're asking for. I cannot stand when a game comes out, it's like day one patch bigger than the game itself, or just put a game together, and you won't have these issues of people review bombing it or not performing well.
Right.
If you give it the attention and the care it deserves before you release it, maybe you won't need that day one patch, and maybe you won't have a month or two after release that everyone's disappointed because something terrible's happening. Right. Just make your fucking game and make it playable and good.
Or at the very least, if you do what CD Projekt Red did, and you really screw up the release.
Well, that was their own fault. They lied their asses off before that game came out.
But you can tell that at least a good portion of that company really cared about the product that they were making.
Absolutely.
And they did everything they could to bring it back and release a game that is now lauded as one of the best another one of the best RPGs.
And they deserve every amount of respect for that. And I truly give that to them. I think CD Projekt Red fucked up big time when they said, oh yeah, this will run on Xbox One or PlayStation 4. It will. I don't know. I bought it when it came out just because I knew it was going to eventually be good. I have not sat down with it, so I'm glad to hear it's back. I'm glad that everyone who worked on that game is getting recognition now. It's not their fault,
Yeah, no.
It is definitely
the crunch isn't developers' fault.
No, it is the CEOs and the people who have no idea what a video game is supposed to be, giving them deadlines, and that's fucked up. I will say, whoever lied and said it was ready to go, should be fired. But I don't know. So anyway, but yeah, I am so glad to hear you tell me that this game is crisp and it works and it's beautiful and perfect, because that's what games need to be. Just spend time on it, release something that's good, and maybe you won't have to do 100 updates. Just a thought.
Right.
What Nintendo did for 30 years. Right. And continues to do. I gotta say, I'm gonna put this on record. I don't recall a Nintendo game releasing that doesn't work. It's almost perfect from get-go every time they release a really good, or like a franchise game like Mario or Zelda.
Right.
There's never a problem. So if they can do it, you can do it.
Well,
Public
it's easy
announcement.
for them. They make their own hardware.
That's true. That's true. All right, I'll step off my soapbox here. Well, I really enjoyed this album and talking about it with you. There has yet to be a physical release that I found. I'm not sure if you found one.
I couldn't find anyone, but I think there was rumblings about one. I assume there's going to be a vinyl.
I'm going to address the vinyl directly. I'm waiting for you. I'm going to be pre-ordering you whenever that day comes, but you can for sure buy it on iTunes, and we highly recommend listening to it. I'm going to go out on a limb and say we both give it a 10 out of 10.
Oh, yeah.
I'm giving this one a 10 Mind Blasts out of 10.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to give it 10 walls of fire that you accidentally hit your allies with out of 10. Definitely.
Oh, that's good stuff. By the time we play or record again, I may be playing this game, so we'll see.
We'll see how you're doing.
Thank you all for listening, and John, if you would like to say goodbye, please do so.
I'll see you all on the Sword Coast.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and subscribe on your podcast app of choice. Also, check out Magus Media's other podcast, This Is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast for complete episode breakdowns, insightful banter, and inane babble. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Well, hello there, Internet people. My name is Josh, and I am one of the hosts of the Nastagram RPG podcast. We're an actual play podcast, and we're good. And why are we good? Well, let's let the other host tell you. Dan.
Hey, everyone. If you like authentic, real-world sound effects, our lasers go pew-pew.
I love it. Matt.
Skip me. Coming back to Matt.
Ryan.
Okay, so after 2 decades of trying, we finally mastered the 3.5 grapple.
We're not doing that.
We certainly did
Never
not.
mind.
Try
Scratch
again.
that.
Scratch
Scratch
that.
that.
Look it up.
John.
If you're looking for a RPG podcast that plays a whole hell of a lot of games, you like to spice the life.
Spice it up.
Spice it up.
Matt, you ready?
Yeah, I think I'm ready. If you enjoy bad accents and overacting, you'll enjoy our podcast.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
And Jake, bring us home.
I like to just say we didn't just throw a phone on the table and hit record. Like, Josh does a damn good job with the editing. And
Facts.
if you care about that, you will not be disappointed.
That's right. We spent a bunch of money that we don't make on the podcast.
100%.
So check us out, Nastagram RPG Podcast. You can find us on all the goddamn podcast apps, and we'll see you there.
That's nasty.